Mark Zeno was on the show to end last week, and I mentioned it briefly about this quarterback situation and how much of a say Arthur Blank will have in it. Because if you look at the last few massive decisions the Falcons have made, they've basically been Blank's decision. You talk about going after Deshaun Watson. I know they'll sit there and lie to us because they love to lie to us. This team loves to lie to us and act like we're all idiots. They'll sit here and lie to us and say we weren't really in on Deshaun Watson. We know Arthur Blank wanted Deshaun Watson, and the Browns came in with the bag of fully guaranteed deal, something that no team should have offered, and now the Browns are paying for it. Obviously, the decision to hire Arthur Smith, he was heavily involved in. Obviously, the decision to fire Arthur Smith, he was heavily involved in. And obviously, the decision to hire Raheem Morris, he was heavily involved. So he's been involved in the three biggest decisions over the last several years. And I don't expect that to change all of the sudden. So how much of a say in which direction do you think the Falcons are going to go if Arthur Blank is the one pulling the trigger?
If you think that Arthur Blank is going to delegate this decision to Raheem Morris and Terry Fontenot, you are a fool. From every point in his tenure as Falcons owner, there's been a little bit of a thumbprint. The end of the Quinn era, the reason they were kept kicking the can down the road, Matt Ryan's contract, Julio Jones' fully guaranteed contract, it was Arthur Blank. And the decision to kind of give Arthur Smith this leeway, Arthur Blank. At every single point in time throughout his tenure as Falcons owner, he's had a thumbprint. And if you think that this is going to be any different, you're an absolute fool. I don't know how many times you have to be lied to before we all wake up and go, who's the one really making the decisions? And I know that Rich McKay is not involved in day-to-day operations. That too, I do not believe. I promise he will be involved in this discussion. So the fact is what does Arthur Blank want? I wrote a blog about it. Go check it out if you want to read it in full, sportstalkatl.com. What does Arthur Blank want? Because he was going after Bill Belichick, the head coach, because he was infatuated with the idea of the Patriot way, all that success in New England coming to Atlanta as he's 82 years old, obviously in the twilight years of his career as a Falcons owner. He wants to win right now. So what does that mean? With Bill Belichick, it meant we're going to go after a veteran quarterback that kind of maximizes our window right now. Kirk Cousins, he came out and said, I don't know if I could pass up playing for the GOAT. That would be Bill Belichick. So, we thought about the marriage of Bill Belichick, Kirk Cousins in Atlanta. That was a little bit enticing. But with Raheem Morris, the Falcons aren't exactly in that corner of they have to go the veteran route. There are more options on the table with Raheem Morris. But what exactly does Arthur Blank want? Because if he wants to win right now, drafting somebody like J.J. McCarthy or Bo Nix, that is not maximizing your win now potential. But then in that same breath, going after a veteran, say Russell Wilson, you're still neglecting that long-term picture for the Falcons organizations of finding that long-term answer at the quarterback position. So what does Arthur Blank want? To me, the answer is somewhere in the middle. You just got to double dip in the quarterback market this offseason.
Yeah, I really hope he does allow a guy like Zach Robinson, who has shown that he can be a little bit of a quarterback whisperer, have a say in who he wants, because I think that's important. We talked about it. You look at the guys that come through this Shanahan coaching tree, and they have kind of a specific type. Brock Purdy, Tua, like Matt Stafford, accurate quarterbacks that operate on schedule. Like going out and getting a Justin Fields now, we talked about it with Zeno, doesn't exactly seem like that's the right fit for Zach Robinson's offense. Now, if you're Arthur Blank, who just went after a hometown kid in Deshaun Watson, wants to put butts in seats, Justin Fields will certainly do that in some capacity, especially if they can start winning a little bit with him. Maybe he pushes that envelope. And you wonder how much, hopefully at the very least, it's a collaborative effort. That's all I can really ask. But it's hard to really tell what Arthur Blank wants to do. And he's going to be the one making the final decision, you have to imagine.
Yeah, and me and Chase have talked about it extensively. 3 or 4 weeks left in the regular season. It seemed like the Falcons' options this offseason at the quarterback position were robust. Maybe Jaden Daniels falls. Maybe a team that doesn't need a quarterback, was in the first or second spot, and the Falcons can mortgage the farm and kind of move up to get Drake May or Caleb Williams. Maybe the trade market. Maybe because Justin Fields, in terms of an Arthur Smith offense, would have worked. It does fit on paper, at least. And then you have the free agent market if you wanted to maximize the win. Now we sit here, Kirk Cousins and Baker Mayfield could re-sign contracts with their respective teams. Justin Fields doesn't exactly fit like a seamless fit, at least on paper. And then we all know that it's going to be quarterback in the draft, leaving the Falcons to pick through the scraps. And not that J.J. McCarthy is a consolation prize by any means, but it would certainly be, at least from, the surface, it would look like a reach at the 8th overall pick. So now the Falcons are kind of sitting on their hands. Do they go with Russell Wilson? And even a Russell Wilson fit doesn't seem like, he hasn't been the most accurate quarterback as of recently. So the Falcons, obviously, what does Arthur Blank want? Because he signs the checks. He obviously gets the final say. Is he going to delegate more? We know, Terry Fontenot and Raheem Morris are reporting directly to him instead of Rich McKay, like it was set up with Fontenot and Arthur Smith. I don't really know. It feels like a mess. I doubt they get it right.
It is a mess, but we are hearing reports that potentially Drake May could fall in the draft. Is that just smoke? Is there some fire there? J.J. McCarthy going number 1 overall. Jim Harbaugh seems to think so. We'll talk about it after the break.